Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snapper. My name's MJ and this is the Hulkling tier list. Which cards can Hulkling copy that are actually good and which ones are an absolute disaster? You can pause the screen right now if you want to see the full tier list. Otherwise, we're going to hurtle forwards, guys. We're heading into the 1-star rated absolute trash tier, fecal, hot garbage, rotting, awful, disaster cards. If Emperor Hulkling copies these cards, basically you've lost the game. No, it's not quite that serious, but these are literally disastrous because they're either unplayable or they actively damage you. So as at time of recording, we don't actually know if Hulkling can copy Agatha Harkness. I assume he can because, for example, Valentina and Arishem can both produce Agatha Harkness. So if Emperor Hulkling becomes Agatha Harkness, we also don't know if he'll be drawn at the start of the game then either. It may depend which order it happens, but either way, that is a complete disaster. If he becomes Agatha Harkness and you draw him, he takes over and it becomes a complete disaster because you can't control anything. Destroyer is completely unplayable. A 6-11 that destroys your entire board. Like, you're not going to win the game playing one 6-11 card. Well, it's possible, but you're not. So that's completely unplayable, and it becomes a dead draw, a dead card. Now, Giganto. People don't play Giganto as a 6-14. Why would you want to play it as a 6-11? And then Infernaut literally just means that you've got a 6-11 that you have to skip a turn to play. All of these are just hot garbage. They're the ones that you will not want to see. Moving on to 2-star cards. These cards, whilst not completely disastrous, are basically difficult to synergize towards or have the potential to ruin your game a little bit. So Living Tribunal is almost a 1-star for me because in a Living Tribunal deck, that deck works because you've at least got Iron Man. So in one location, you're doubling power. And you're hopefully onslaughting as well. And there's a whole point to the deck. Whereas if in an average game, you're not really going to be generating enough power across all of the locations to then divide it by 3 and be winning in 2 of them. It doesn't really work like that. So that's why Living Tribunal is so bad. The other ones are just difficult to synergize towards. Like Hela is almost just a dead draw. You're unlikely to discard a card during your game. You might get the lucky game where you got Sokovia, and then Hulkling's going to feel amazing. Galactus is an interesting one because I've seen people saying, Galactus is brilliant. Grow up. What are you talking about? By the way, whilst I'm here, subscribe. I have got masses of returning viewers who come back to watch me time and time again, but are not subscribed. So please, it would make me feel good if you subscribed. You seem to enjoy the content, so hey, do us both a favour. And subscribe. I said flavour. This is embarrassing. Anyway, yeah, Galactus. Galactus decks work because you've got stuff like Wave, Wolverine, maybe Nimrod is in there. You've got Eliath, you've got Null, you've got Death. You've got ways to surprise your opponent with Galactus, get it out early, but then capitalise on the fact that you've played Galactus. Whereas Hulkling becoming Galactus as an 11 power card is very rarely going to be strong enough to win a single location. So it's difficult to synergize towards. And Heimdall, again, unless your deck is built as a move deck to take advantage of Heimdall, it's going to be a really difficult one to win with. Not impossible. This isn't 1-star, but tough. Then, moving on to 3-star. This is just the middle of the pack. Sometimes it might be good. You can certainly do good synergies or good tactics with these cards. But most of the time, this is just going to be a 6-11 and you'll feel fine about it. So, you might wonder why I've got cards like Hulk and Thanos, which literally won't do anything. They literally will just be 6-11 cards that don't do anything, basically. I mean, Hulk will have the occasional situation where you can benefit from Washington, D.C., but for the most part, these are cards that literally won't do anything. Why have I got them aside cards with actual abilities and powers like Null, Magneto, and Apocalypse? So, basically, Null's an interesting one because there will be games where there are destroy locations and the Hulkling that's Null will outright win you that location and you'll be able to snap early and you'll feel really good about that. There'll be situations where you've got an Emperor Hulkling Magneto, and you can pull those cards and you can sort of work towards that, as because Emperor Hulkling is revealed at the start of the game to you. You know that he's Magneto, so you can work towards doing that strategy and bank on that. But I think those situations where you can do that are going to be rare enough that it's not really going to feel better than average. Again, Apocalypse, maybe there will be that random occasion where Emperor Hulkling gets discarded by Sokovia. Those moments are going to feel amazing. Or Helicarrier. Those moments are going to feel cool, but they're going to be few and far enough between. And Eliath. Why have I got Eliath in 3-star? I'm sure that you will still be able to make use of an Eliath that is Emperor Hulkling, but the thing is, you haven't planned for that in the rest of your deck. So Eliath needs priority to work. You're not necessarily going to have priority. Yes, of course, you can still try to work towards it. But what I'm trying to say is, these are all middle of the pack stuff that may be fine, may be good even, but why wouldn't you just play them in your deck to start with? You're not getting like a bonus from it being 11 power or it being on Hulkling. You're not getting a bonus as you do get with some of the later cards. So let's talk about our 4-star cards, which is Odin Onslaught, She-Hulk, Red Hulk, Mockingbird and Spectrum. Generally, these all feel really good because Odin, you got the +3 extra power from Emperor Hulkling, and just generally speaking, most decks have got some kind of on reveal. Now, it remains to be seen if it actually benefits you from triggering the on reveal with Hulkling, but it is at least something, and it is a higher power than Odin actually is. Onslaught is particularly good, +4 power over base Onslaught. And again, generally speaking, you very well may have an ongoing card. I think ongoings are probably rarer than on-reveals in any random deck, but there will still be situations where you can benefit from this. It's also crucial to say that the kind of deck you'll be playing Hulkling in is most likely going to be decks that are more fun to play. So it's going to be your shield decks, Arishem decks, random decks where you will have a random mix of things, or you've got Coulson and you've got access to different cards. So it means that these cards like Odin and Onslaught are going to feel generally better. She-Hulk, you can definitely work towards, float a little bit of energy, get that slight bump on power over just a core She-Hulk. Red Hulk is already one of the strongest cards in the game as a really high power card. Emperor Hulkling gives him a little tick up, and your opponent's going to see that, and it's just more added pressure and the little mind game element of you don't have to play Emperor Hulkling. Mockingbird, literally one of the best cards in the game. Hulkling is a 6/11, so he's higher power version of one of the best cards in the game, so that's cool. And Spectrum is going to feel particularly nice. Spectrum might actually be my favourite one out of all of these. Like I say, you're probably going to be playing Hulkling in a random deck. Arishem, Loki, whatever it may be. And so you're gonna have some ongoing cards. So this is a 5 power bump on Spectrum, and then adding that power to the rest of the board. I mean, let's say you've got 2 ongoings. That means the value of Emperor Hulkling over Spectrum is technically like, well, it's still just +5, but it could be coming down as a 6/15 or something with wide board presence and particularly one big location. So that's really good. 5-star cards. This is where we're getting really bloody serious now. Ultron as a 6/11 is super cracked. I think Ultron is one of the best cards in the game anyway. I actually think he's underrated, even though he's really highly played at the moment and people love him. I still think he's underrated because even if you're just filling in a random 2 power in a few other locations, that's nuts. And then Emperor Hulkling as an 11 power card. I mean, let's say you got 2 spots in the other locations. That means Emperor Hulkling is coming down as a 20 power card, pretty much. A 19 power card. Super strong, with wide board presence as well. I love it. And Sasquatch, again, there's going to be games where you're easily going to be able to play a couple of cards before turn 5. You can ramp Hulkling out on turn 5 as a higher power version of Sasquatch. So again, feels really good. But let's move on to the final tier. This is 6 stars. These are the cards that are basically game winning. Like, you can automatically snap if Hulkling copies these and you draw Hulkling, you snap. First of all, least interestingly, I'm actually going to say Doctor Doom. Now, very similar to Ultron, but the thing is, you only need one spot in the other locations rather than multiple to really greatly benefit. And the overall power output is higher, and also the power difference between Doom and Hulkling is obviously bigger than Ultron and Hulkling. So this is coming out literally as a 21 power play. Absolutely incredible. Let's talk about Blob. 6-0, what? He's going to play until he's at least 13, which means I should say gains 13 power. That means your single location, you could literally have an empty location and you can win it with Emperor Hulkling. Blog, brilliant. Blob, because he comes out as a 24 power card minimum. This guy can hit 30, no worries. Then Arnim Zola. Again, this is a slightly difficult one. Certainly harder to pull off than the Doom and the Blob, which are just like auto. You don't need to worry about it. If he copies Arnim Zola, bear that in mind at the start of the game because it can be cracked. Just by turn 5, you keep a location free, or you at least have really high power stuff in that location. Maybe it's a 4 power card. Even if something like Stegron, play Stegron in that location, and then you bust down the Hulkling, Zola, you copy the Stegrons in the other locations, kick everything across to the right, hopefully you win the middle location as well, and you've got to say the Hulkling on the left. We love it. So that's really cool. But then I think Leader is my favourite. It is a massive power jump from 3 to 11, so that is like 8 plus 8 power, which is fantastic. And yeah, so you play your 6-11 somewhere, you potentially flip a location, and then you get a copy of their highest power thing as well. Like, you don't lose. That is literally game winning. You completely secure. Either you flip a location, and they try and flip yours, but it doesn't work. Like, just it's guaranteed win. Guaranteed win. A Hulkling Leader is going to be one of the most broken things you can do in this game. So let's have a look back at the overall tier list, and I'll leave those closing thoughts with you. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.